I'm a non-attorney spokesperson.
This is Scott Kaplan and Crew Tonight. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and Crew show on the Mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio. SoCal Sports Talk. Here's Scott Kaplan, Alex Padilla, and John Browner.
Hey, great friends. What's going on? Kaplan and Crew with Grande and the Brown Man coming to you from the 7 Mile Casino Studios, 7milecasino.com. I'm going to jump right in and say this. We have two really, really big things happening today and this week. One, the obvious. Friday afternoon, we all find out that Fernando Tatis Jr. is suspended for 80 games for failing a drug test and utilizing performance-enhancing drugs. Yo, Fernando, if you think you're going to convince me that you used a performance-enhancing drug to get rid of a ringworm skin condition, you must think we're all a bunch of idiots. This is the problem that the Padres have created. They created this problem by A, giving a young kid way too much of a contract, too much money, too much time, long before they had to do it. That's the first part of what the Padres did. And the second part is they've been walking around on eggshells around this kid ever since they gave him this money. No one wants to upset Fernando. No one wants to upset Fernando's personality. No one wants to discipline the guy. No one wants to say anything about him. The only guy with any balls on that entire team who has stood up to this kid has been Manny Machado. Believe me, we're going to get into it, and you can already feel the vibe and the energy. So I'll get to Fernando Tatis. The second big thing that we've got going on around the show this week is we are celebrating the 2-year anniversary of 1090 being back on the air. And by the way, thank goodness it is, because let me tell you something, man. You can turn on any radio station in San Diego, and there's 3 sports radio stations. You couldn't go anywhere this weekend without turning on a national radio show. All the talk was about either the NFL preseason, frankly, or Fernando Tatis. He was that big of a headline all over the country this past weekend. But I'll just say this. Thank goodness 1090 went back on the air 2 years ago. And thank goodness we're not in bed with the Padres, because we can say whatever we want and we can tell the truth. And the truth is the Padres honestly created this problem. And last week when I saw AJ Preller come out and say, well, I didn't even know about this thing till 12:45 this afternoon. I don't believe that either. Like, now, listen, maybe I'm just being overly skeptical. Maybe I don't necessarily understand all the rules of the Players Association and communications to teams and to the league. But let me tell you something. On a Friday afternoon, you talk about a news dump. First, the suspension, then the choreography begins. Tatis's immediate apology. The Padres come out with their critical statements. The mom hits everybody up with the ringworm pictures on social media. And when I hear AJ Preller say, well, I didn't know about it until just a few minutes ago, that may be true, but it may not be true, because his reputation is such that he's done so many shady, questionable things along the way. Why would I believe him? So today, not only are we going to celebrate day 1 of year 2 of the radio station being back on the air, Rich Eisen's going to join us. Rich has been with us from day 1 of putting 1090 back on the air. Rich Eisen today. Keyshawn Johnson stopping by later in the week. Jim Rome will be here. Scott Farrell, Jay Williams, Max Kellerman. I mean, everybody who's on this radio station who's playing a role in bringing it back, everybody's stopping by the show this week. But I think it's pretty obvious that the number one story that we're going to be talking about today, and who knows how it progresses as the week goes on, is Fernando Tatis. I'll tell you this right now, and then I'll turn it over to Grande and Big Brown himself. I'll tell you this right now. I actually believe that the Padres may have seen this coming, which is why they went so aggressively to get Juan Soto. If I'm the Padres, I'm going to try and find my way out of this contract, void it, DFA the dude, trade him, whatever you can do to get rid of Fernando Tatis's contract and put all of that money into Juan Soto. That's my opinion. Just getting started. We're in the 7 Mile Casino Studios, 7milecasino.com. Thank you, 7 Mile Casino, for being a part of what we do here at 1090, being a part of what we do here at Kaplan and Crew, only 7 minutes south of downtown San Diego. I know a lot of people are going to still be heading down because now fans are going to say, we got to this point without Fernando Tatis. Let's see how far we can go without this guy. Maybe there's going to be a rallying cry. We can do it without him. Or maybe there'll be an implosion. Like, look what this guy has done to this team and this organization and this fan base. Nonetheless, 7 Mile Casino is only 7 minutes south of downtown San Diego. Sammy's Restaurant and Bar is over here. blackjack, poker, table games over here, completely smoke-free environment. The beautiful Bay of Chula Vista that so many people don't even really get to enjoy. Come on down and visit. Good luck at 7 Mile Casino. And of course, as always, any problems with gambling, you call 1-800-GAMBLER. So here we go on a Monday afternoon. Kaplan and Crew with Grande and the Brown Man. Fellas, this all happened Friday when we weren't even on the air. I'm looking for initial thoughts. Grande, what do you say?
You know, kid's dumb, pretty much. Like, let's just say, Scott, you don't want to believe anybody. Let's say you do believe somebody. Let's say you believe Tatis really thought he was taking lotion to treat ringworm on his neck. I mean, he still didn't learn. Our biggest problem about him was not only in December was he riding motorcycles recklessly and crashing them multiple times. I think a lot of us were upset that he just didn't tell the Padres. Like I understand it was a lockout, but you didn't tell them till you reported to spring training. And we figured, okay, anything that happens with this kid going forward, he will just tell the Padres going forward. So just to think outside the box a little bit, let's say you believe him, which I don't think many people, if anybody, does. He still didn't contact the Padres. He still went out and bought over-the-counter drugs, and he still ended up testing positive for steroids, if you believe it. So it just makes him dumb. It makes him look stupid. That was my biggest thing. It's like, let's say you're telling the truth, Tatis. You still come off looking like an idiot. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing here that Tatis can do or say that he's going to look good. Because he's either a cheater that's taking steroids, and that's why he gained 10 to 15 pounds of muscle. Everybody all year was talking about how big and yoked he looked. Or he is still an immature, dumb kid that doesn't know what he's doing and is still reliant on his family instead of hiring professionals to take care of him. Which, either way, you come off looking bad and you come off looking dumb.
Yeah. I mean, to me, he comes off looking like an entitled little jerk. Listen, you can be a Tatis fan and he's this super talent and gosh, this guy is going to lead the Padre fan base to a world championship. You guys can all feel that way. I feel like he's an entitled little jerk. That's what I feel. Because this guy, from the moment they gave him that contract, this guy has behaved like an entitled child. And by the way, that whole attitude has been perpetuated, I really feel, and enabled by the Padres because they've never done anything to try and get him back to just be a professional. That's all. Just be a professional. Let's get to Big Brown, see what he thinks here. Opening thoughts from John Browner here this afternoon. Brown, what do you say, man?
I'm not going to waste my time with that. I had something more important to talk about today. Over the weekend, I spent Saturday night at a fantastic fundraiser with some really good people.
Excuse me, really quickly. You don't want to talk about this Tatis thing first, for real?
No, man. Look, here's why.
Okay, because I really wanted to dive into what you did Saturday night and represented the show, and I really, really appreciate you going because I know I couldn't go, and they wanted you to be there, and I'm appreciative of you being there. But
here's why. Here's why I don't want to talk about it.
Go ahead.
I don't want to spend any more energy on a person who clearly doesn't care about what happens going forward with something that everybody else seems to care about, unless it involves him. I don't know how stupid you have to be as a fan because, again, I'm one of the people on this show and I will never rest on this. I'm on his side. Almost in case of anything, I'm on his side. Not with this. And as opposed to just coming out and being like, hey, man, I messed up. I wasn't listening to the right people. The last year of my life, I've really made some really dumb decisions, starting with the motorcycle and now with this. But no, this ringworm thing, come on, bro. How stupid, how dumb. I don't care. And your mother's probably a really lovely lady. But your family, in addition to you, but you most importantly, your family's really led you down the wrong road. If they're the people taking care of you, they just cost you. And I don't care what anyone tells you. Your entire career will now be in question. It doesn't matter what you do.
Totally right on. Because just as an example, this past weekend, I still saw a Gatorade commercial with Fernando Tatis. And I thought to myself, well, how long before Gatorade says we need to cut ties with this guy? How long before they pull those commercials down? How long before a Dairy Queen says, well, we don't want to be in bed with this guy? I mean, listen, I think about earlier in the season. Remember when the Padres went out and got Robinson Cano? They're like, this guy, Robinson Cano, he's going to be a great mentor for Fernando Tatis. Maybe he was.
mentored him all right.
Maybe he was a great mentor. Maybe
Mhm.
Robinson Cano got here and went, hey, you want to get better quickly? Take this. Because according to all the reports, Cano had already been suspended for the exact same drug.
Twice.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you guys right now, I blame Tatis, but I also blame the Padres. And here's why. Because last year, remember when his shoulder was hurt and he went and he did an interview at his home in Spanish, not an interview that the Padres set up for him, not an interview that the Padres said, you'll do this interview. We don't want you doing other stuff. He went and said, screw you guys. I'm going to do an interview with this guy in Espanol in mi casa. And guess what? I'm letting you guys know through the media, I'm not having shoulder surgery. It's not happening. Not doing it. And so he has behaved like an entitled little jerk. I don't care that he's 23 years old and that he's got the body of a grown man. He's got the mind of a 12-year-old right now. And I say that because I got a 22-year-old son who I look at him as a little child. I just look at this kid and I go, you gave him the money before you had to. You gave him all of this security. And from the day he's had that contract, he told you, I'm not getting surgery. I'm not playing this position. I'm doing what I want to do. Oh, and then I'm going to go home all off season. I'm going to ride motorcycles. Hey, Fernando, the injury. How did that happen? On a motorcycle crash. Which one? Which motorcycle crash? He pretty much told everybody there were more than just one. This guy doesn't care about his teammates. He doesn't care about the organization. He doesn't care about the fan base. He cares about one thing, him. And listen, will he grow up? Will he mature? Probably. But will
It won't matter.
But will his entire career be tainted because of this incident? I believe it will be. And again, here's the thing. I think that the Padres likely had some inkling that this might be coming, which is why not only do you go get Juan Soto, but you give up everything you had to get Juan Soto. And again, if the Padres, I blame the Padres for this. They've never disciplined him because they're so afraid of him being upset. We don't want to upset Fernando. Oh my God, we can't suspend him. We can't discipline him. We can't even say anything publicly. We just keep kissing his ass all the time because we want him to be happy. He's our big superstar. You enabled this behavior, Padre organization. Very frustrating.
That's just why I disagree with you. I don't blame the team at all. Not one bit.
Mm-hmm.
They treated him the way you treat a player at the time, the way he was projecting. It doesn't matter the sport. Is it football, basketball, baseball? When you get a guy like that at that age with the trajectory that he was on, you treat him how the organization treated him. So I don't blame the organization for his stupidity because LeBron was treated that way at multiple stops. Kevin Durant's been treated that way at multiple stops. Well, maybe not Tom Brady, but there are tons of, look, Antonio Brown, Randy Moss.
Look at all the monsters that have been created. Every guy you're talking about.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So why not learn from other people's mistakes and say, rather than enabling him, let's help him grow up. Let's help him mature. Let's actually punish him now rather than enabling this kind of behavior. I've been talking to baseball people all weekend. There's so many things that the Padres could have done at the beginning of this year to say, hey, it's right here in your contract. You can't ride a motorcycle in the offseason. We actually do have some recourse. But rather than upsetting him in any way, they just said, okay, we understand. You got hurt. We need to hurry you back and get you back as quickly as possible. We don't want to upset you. And so in my opinion, it's just my own opinion, they have enabled this behavior.
See, I think what they did was the right. Even after the motorcycle accident, I think that was the right thing to do because his image wasn't tainted along with the team. The steroid, there are guys who cannot get into the Hall of Fame. In my opinion, Barry Bonds is the greatest baseball player ever. and there's a good chance he may not get into the Hall of Fame because of steroids. Never busted. This guy busted. So again, his entire career will be tarnished. Every home run, every stolen at bat, every stolen base will be questioned now. He did this. He did. And so now the organization will suffer because of this. And so now at this point, yeah, I think they should take some type of action towards him because now he's tarnished the organization's representation. And that from player A all the way to the next guy that they get. All of it, the whole organization because of this guy's actions.
Yeah, dude, I'm not gonna blame anybody but Tatis today. Just not. I mean, he's the one that's doing it. He's the one that's riding the
Right.
motorcycles. He's the one that's rubbing the cream. He's the one that's taking the juice. I mean, I don't think AJ Preller's injecting him with anything. I don't think Peter Seiler was riding behind him on that motorcycle. So, I mean, I get it, Scott. There is probably a lot of fingers to point at how we got here, but the action and my venom will go only towards Tatis.
Does anybody believe Tatis? I'm just curious. Does anybody
No,
believe him?
no.
I
I don't even honor the excuse with a discussion of is it even possible? No.
the two drugs that came out over the weekend make it seem like it's plausible. I don't think it's likely, but I think that it's plausible that he confused two things. I don't believe it, but I think that there's a plausible deniability there. I also want more details. I want more like when did he test positive?
How much of it was in his system?
Right.
Now, if you want to say that the excuse is plausible, I'm 100% okay. I'll have this discussion with you. Why couldn't he then go to Major League Baseball and say this teeny tiny amount of this was in my system? Right. Here is how it got there.
No, I also think that
he doctor said, like,
yeah. No, he said I took a substance that had this in it. And Scott, you remember when Antonio Gates tested positive, like right before they moved to LA? And you said something that has stuck with me that I think it's true. It's just what'd you take? Show us what you took.
Right.
If it is an accident, if you weren't purposely taking clostebol or whatever, however you say it, then show us what you took. Let me see that medication that you took, and then let's figure out how stupid you really are. I mean, that's really what it is. Because if it was
how much of it.
Well, that's what guys used to always say. Guys would say this. You ready? Hey, I went to GNC. I bought this over-the-counter product. Didn't know what was in it, and it's their fault. It's their, and I'm going to sue them.
Right.
And you notice that nobody ever sues those companies? Oh, wait, no. I had a steak. The cow was in Mexico and it ate some grass that was fertilized with something, and that's how it got into my system. That's nonsense.
Well, because MLB has it in their CBA where you can appeal. Let's say that happens. Let's say you made a genuine mistake. You can appeal and reduce your 80-game suspension to 30
Did he do that?
And it'll be labeled as negligence.
Yeah,
he
did he do that?
He originally appealed it, and then he's like, because I realized my mistake, I am withdrawing my appeal and will serve my suspension immediately.
Yeah.
So because it's been happening. Like D. Gordon tried to do it. Like I'm telling you, like if you genuinely made a mistake, die on that shield and fight for the mistake that you made. Like I made a mistake. I was negligent. This is what I took. Tell the public. Win the court of public opinion. But no, he's just like, all right, later. I'm out. You're never going to see me until May. Bye.
Right. Yeah. So here's the deal. So in a year where the Padres and its fan base had these monster expectations, you've missed the entire year. And while the Padres are not battling to win the division, they are now caught up in a monster battle just to make the postseason. And on one hand, in that clubhouse, guys might say, hey, screw him. Look where we are. We don't need him. By the way, we replaced him. We got this far without him. And then we went out and got Juan Soto.
I think that was very telling, Scott. That was incredibly telling to me that the moment this happened, the moment mics were in front of the players, they weren't like, they weren't defending him. Everybody was against him. And I think that was very telling of what the clubhouse feels about him.
I think the clubhouse feels about him what Manny Machado felt about him last year when he was screaming at him.
It's not about you.
It's not about you. And that's the problem is this kid has been an entitled little jerk the whole time. And Manny Machado is the one who let us all know about it. All right, look, we're just getting going. We're in the 7 Mile Casino Studios. Here's what I said to Alex and Browner. I said, guys, there is venom on the streets. The fans are furious. I'm sure for you guys, just like me, my phone was on fire all weekend long. I heard from so many Padre fans on so many different platforms. I got to get on the air. You got to take my call. I've got to get this off my chest. I need to share this. I need you guys. We're going to try something coming up here in the next segment. We have put out a tweet. We have sent out an email to 15,000 people today with a Zoom link. Coming up in, about just a few minutes, we're going to open it up. If you're on our email, great. If you saw our tweet, fantastic. What will the fans have to say about Fernando Tatis? We're going to all find out together. And we're going to celebrate the 2-year anniversary of 1090 being back on the air. We're in the 7 Mile Casino Studios. We're just getting rolling. This is Kaplan and Crew with Grande and the Brown Man.
We'll be right back with more of Scott Kaplan and Crew tonight. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and Crew show on the Mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio. SoCal Sports Talk.
You're watching Kaplan and Crew tonight, powered by the Mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio and Your View, featuring the best sports talk in SoCal.
Rome comes home. Yes, I said it. You can now catch the Jim Rome Show Monday through Friday, noon until 3 p.m. on the Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio. Back to San Diego, where it all started, on the Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk.
Let's welcome back to Main Street Living tax attorney Adam Brewer. Adam, thanks so much for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Now, it might seem weird that we're having you on because it's not necessarily tax season right now, but what are some things that viewers can do to get ahead of next tax season?
Yeah, you're right. I apologize. I think most people would prefer to just forget about taxes for the summer, but yeah, if you have some downtime, always a good opportunity to kind of get ahead for next season. So really what I'm preaching is, just become more knowledgeable about your taxes. Everyone come tax season can benefit from having a little more knowledge and just being a little bit less stressed about the whole process of getting their taxes filed and getting them paid. All this information is available online, but it's really a mess. So it just gets back to my first point, just start with your own taxes. And then if you need to dig in on one or two issues, it's just a Google search away.
Gotcha. Google search away. Now, let's just say someone is interested, like Danielle is interested in becoming more knowledgeable about her taxes. Like, how should someone like her get started?
Yeah. So Danielle, you're interested. You should start with, your last year's tax return. So I'd say get out your last year's return. Form 1040s, going to be the first page there. And really look and see what lines are populated. And then, make sure you understand those roles. So if you have dividend income and you see, what's a qualified dividend, go in and figure it out. Likewise, if you see anything that's missing. So, a lot of taxpayers now are paying a ton in student loan interest. And then they look at their tax return and they go like, well, that's limited to $2,500. That would be a role that you'd want to dig in and really figure out how it impacts your actual tax return. When in doubt, save for retirement. It's either, for most taxpayers, it's either going to save you money today, tax-wise, or it's going to help you reduce your tax burden in the future.
Awesome.
So important. Thank you. Thank you so much, Adam. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
This is Scott Kaplan and Crew tonight. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and Crew show on the Mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk. Here's Scott Kaplan, John Browner, and Alex Padilla.
All right, great friends. What's happening? It's Kaplan and Crew with Grande and the Brown Man from the 7 Mile Casino Studios, 7milecasino.com. We've been promoting all day that today marks the 2-year anniversary of 1090 going back onto the radio airwaves of Southern California. Now, from 2003, when we established this radio station, until March of 2019, we dominated San Diego, Orange County, and LA. And then we went off the air, and 2 years later, August 17, 2020, Bill Hagan puts us back on the air. And the best part about it is when Rich Eisen joined the station. I say that because, and Rich can tell the story certainly better than I can. He'll know it better than I will. But Rich was going through a transition at that time also. We were putting 1090 back on the air, and 1090 became the very first radio station that Rich Eisen and his national show, which broadcasts out of LA, this became home base. So as we celebrate 1090's 2-year return to the airwaves, Friday night, St. John Bosco football, Saturday, Notre Dame football, ESPN radio with NFL on Sunday. And we've got the Rich Eisen show, and Rich Eisen is back on Kaplan and Crew. Rich, thanks so much for doing this today. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for that setup. Every word you said is true. Fact. I can confirm. Sources say.
Could you go back, though, like 2+ years ago,
Sure.
To what was going on in your, I'm going to call it professional radio life that gave us the opportunity to get you and your show on 1090 back then?
Sure. So I'm talking to you from the studio that I've been fortunate to be in since 2014, when DirecTV created this show out of whole cloth. Well, I had a podcast that I worked on at the NFL Network that this was born out of, but this show itself, the TV radio version of it, daily every day from 9 a.m. to noon Pacific, was born. And we in 2019 in December, it was 3 days before Christmas, got a phone call that the Audience Network, that was the television home for this, and thus the impetus for DirecTV to create the show, was shuttering. And so was this program, as far as they were concerned. And so that happened. And then the radio network that was part of my world as well, I parted ways with them, or they with me. And the pandemic then hit. So it was like a triple whammy. And so I didn't want to give up, nor did my friends and crew here and coworkers. And so we kept at it. And we were on Sirius XM, and we were on YouTube, and that was our distribution. And then one day Bill Hagan called my agent and said they were creating or recreating 1090, and would I be up for being part of it? And you were radio affiliate number 1 for me in my reboot and rebuild that I'm pleased to say is now 2 years in, and we're not stopping. And part of that is just an incredible distribution that we have in Southern California and mid California. I mean, my gosh, the signal, I think, probably goes all the way around the world. So it feels like,
yeah.
And I love it. I love it. And it's something that I'm very prideful of. And so when, you guys reached out to see if I could be part of the celebration for the week, I think I'm your first up on that. So yeah. I'm pleased to be.
Well, it was important that you were first, and I'll tell you why. Because, Rich, listen, we have Jim Rome on the station now.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim, when he broadcasts live nationally, he's on 9 to noon, just like you're on 9 to noon.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, we had a bit of this conversation the first time you were coming on about the number of really well-known personalities that call 9 a.m. to noon home.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Jim became available and I got on the phone with Jim, I said, Jim, look, Rich Eisen's on from 9 to noon. And I got to say, honestly, like, I'm a loyalty guy. I'm not saying I'm best friends with Rich Eisen, hardly.
Yeah, you did.
I think I did. I said after Canelo Alvarez, Rich Eisen's my second best friend on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but truth be told, Jim, I said, Rich Eisen was with us from day one. And so for us to go to Rich and say, hey, Rich, do you mind if we move you on tape delay? I said, I can't do that. I said, so here's what I suggest. I suggest that we take your show and move it from 9 to noon to noon to 3. No one's going to know the difference. Believe me, no one will know the difference that you're not live. And Jim said, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's give it a try. And now to go from Rich Eisen to Jim Rome directly into us from 3 to 6. So we have, these great lead in, at least from our perspective. I just couldn't move you guys. When I say I couldn't, I mean, you may have told us to screw off for all I know, but I mean, it was just super important. You've been with us from the beginning, man. I just want you to know how much we really appreciate having you on the station.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for saying that. Rome didn't say screw Rich. I mean, I helped create the first version of this. He didn't say that.
He did not say
that he has tenure anyway. I mean,
he did not.
You sure about that? You sure about that, Scott? You're not just trying to save me the awkwardness or anything like that? You sure?
Okay, maybe he did a little bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit. I'm just teasing. He did not. Seriously. Jim was really open to it.
Great. That's great. And I think it's fun, man. I mean, I listened to Rome on the station when I came out here to visit my brother in the 90s, I mean, so it's pretty cool. I'm glad to have this platform and certainly the time slot and the spot on the station. And I'm thrilled. It's the only words for it.
Rich, what has happened in your career, at least from this perspective, in the last 2 years? So you go from the television network, as you say, crumbles, the radio partner splits ways with you. Now you're going to reboot everything. And just when you look back from where you were that day when we went on the air, August 17th, 2020, to where we are today, August 15th, 2022, what has happened in your radio development in those past 2 years?
Oh, I just think, it's just like everything else with radio, which it's so personal. And that's what I love about it. I'm very fortunate to have a spot in NFL Network. This is season 20 that I'm with them. 19th anniversary of the network is coming up, but our 20th season. And I do love sitting on a set and anchoring a 4-hour show and being with my guys and Kurt Warner and Irv and Mooch, and then the rest of the year, the combine and the draft and other aspects that I do for NFL Network. But nothing that I do for them connects me with the fan directly, right? I mean, nothing I do with them or for them is something where I get immediate feedback to something that I said. I don't have, obviously, the room to opinionate on NFL Network that I have on this show and our station. So the fact that I get to actually physically talk to somebody it's what I love. I did stand-up comedy in college, and I miss the immediacy of feedback, and I miss the give and take, and that's what I get with this. And so I've enjoyed growing my program locally and nationally, and it's just been a blast. It really has been. Totally.
Yeah, we're talking to Rich Eisen this afternoon. It's Kaplan and Crew with Grande and the Brown Man from the 7 Mile Casino Studios, 7milecasino.com. Rich Eisen is with us. We're celebrating the 2-year anniversary of 1090. I want to tell you, man, the one thing I admire so much about you and your career is I'll never forget. I was in my agent's office in New York City at the time. He was working for a company called SFX, and he was a junior guy kind of coming up. And the senior guy was this guy in the other corner, this guy, Lou Oppenheim.
Yeah.
And I hope, was it Oppenheim or Oppenheimer?
No, it's Oppenheimer, I think, created the nuclear bomb.
Okay.
Oppenheim just, was just a wonderful
just a dude.
Man who I used to work with. Yeah.
Right. So Lou was in the corner, and my agent was this young up and coming guy. His name was Rick Diamond. And I remember them talking. They were buzzing. They're like, yeah, Rich Eisen is going to go start the NFL Network. And I'm like, wait a second.
That's
what?
right.
I'm like, but he's already a star on SportsCenter. And they're like, no, he's going to go. And I thought, wow, what a weird decision. But 20 years later, Rich, I mean, this NFL Network, first of all, not just for you personally, but just the network itself has been so incredibly impactful. Even here we are, it's training camps and preseason. I'm like addicted to it. I'm watching training camp reports. So it's really an amazing thing what you did all those years ago. It was a big risk. Do you remember being a younger guy and thinking to yourself, wow, what am I doing here?
No. It was, look, I mean, just like everything, it's like luck meets opportunity, right? So I was I thought I'd be on ESPN forever, to be honest with you. I mean, they found me at age 26 in Reading Chico market, a small market. And it was truly like winning the lottery. It was something I went from doing the 5 and 11 o'clock news every day in a small television station and wound up on SportsCenter within the span of like 3-4 weeks. It was wild. And so I thought my identity was so intertwined with ESPN that I never thought I would leave it ever. But circumstances came about where new management came in, and their opinion about what a SportsCenter anchor needs to do or not do, or what other opportunities would be made available to me, changed fast. And I held my ground, and they said, okay, here's a box and fill your belongings up with it. So I did fill up my belongings and moved out here to California and helped start NFL Network. And it's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. And so it just was a lot of reasons for me to just stand my ground and not move off of what I thought I could do for a living. And so it is just amazing how the NFL has grown in the last 20 some odd years, and the network along with it. And now, I mean, when we first started here in LA, we were the only people in town associated with the NFL. People were like, why are you here? And the answer that our boss who helped found the network has a beautiful place in Beverly Hills wasn't the proper answer to tell everybody, but it is just, why are you here? And we planted a flag here, and now we've got a beautiful new home across the street from a beautiful new stadium that houses 2 Los Angeles football teams, including the champions of the entire league, in the stadium that hosted the Super Bowl. It's amazing. I can't believe it that it's happened. Certainly since I broadcast for the first few years doing NFL Total Access from the same chair that they didn't fix. I thought it would fall apart on the show. And now here I am in this beautiful stadium, this beautiful spot across the state-of-the-art stadium. It's amazing how things have grown here in Southern California with the NFL. And I can't wait for kickoff in that stadium in a couple of weeks. It'll be amazing.
Yep.
Has the success of the channel, in correlation with the way that the NFL has pretty much gotten a stranglehold on sports media, has that surprised you?
How do you mean? What do you mean?
So every sport now is covered in a football lens. Like even baseball, something happens in baseball, people go, oh, they freak out about it like you would do in a 17-game season or 18-game season. There's 162 of them in baseball. There's 82 of them in basketball. There's 80 plus in hockey. But people have a football reaction to everything now. Are you surprised at the way that the NFL has changed people's approach to sports? I guess is a better way to put the question.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect organism when you think about it, where it is once a week. So not only does that mean the games matter a little bit more, but it also gives you 6 days to ruminate about what you just saw. So, and it's a couple of days for reaction, and then a couple of days of rest, and then a couple of days of ramp up hype that, and then rinse and repeat every week. And then it's the greatest narrative generating machine, whether it's coaches or season long storyline arcs or week to week arcs, or just the players themselves are just fascinating to me. And it's always been the favorite part of my job is meeting these players and figuratively take their helmets off. I mean, we just had on today's show, Gabriel Davis of the Buffalo Bills. And, when you talk about the Buffalo Bills, you talk about Josh Allen, then you talk about Stephon Diggs, you might talk about Von Miller. There's so many different ways, but this is a kid who's is entering his 3rd year out of Central Florida, 4 touchdowns, 200 yards against the Chiefs. But at any rate, reason why I bring it up is I asked him, you were a 4th round pick in 2020. That was the pandemic draft. Tell me about your draft night and experience. And he started telling a story about how he had a big draft party in his house, and he thought he was going to be a 2nd and 3rd round pick. And the second night of the draft comes and goes, and he's not drafted. And he was so embarrassed because his whole family was there, and he's still not drafted. And he said he went into the bathroom and started crying. And those are the stories that I'm like, okay, so that's the chip that's on your shoulder, right? Now you'll watch Gabriel Davis in a different way, and there's so many stories about like that in the NFL, and so many reasons to root for these guys that that makes it a perfect, as I mentioned, organism and a reason for being a fan of it. It's 26 weeks long as well as just half the year too. So there's a lot of anticipation. And then the combine and the draft and the schedule release and free agency are 1 month apart, just to give you bursts of a reminder of your love of it. So I think you put it all together along with, I'll be very honest, the gambling aspect of it. And you've got, and not just hardcore lines and spreads, but the soft, the soft core, for the lack of a better phrase, fan of fantasy football, where somebody ordinarily wouldn't give a rat's what about the NFL, but you talk about your fantasy team and your office pool and all of that stuff, and you've got yourself a unique setup. So that's my long-winded answer. But as you know, I've got 20 years of thinking about this, so I've thought a lot about it.
What did you think about this offseason? I found it incredibly entertaining.
Oh my God.
The football has grown. Not only as the players and the wide receivers getting money, but the people covering the game got paid.
Not all of them.
Not yet.
Well, it's funny because Rich, there was that whole thing about whether or not you were going to leave the NFL.
That's ridiculous.
I signed months ago.
It was ridiculous. But I mean, to your point, we keep bringing up on this show a tweet that Stephon Diggs sent out. I don't know the date off the top of my head, but it was the day where Tyreek Hill apparently woke up, demanded a trade, got the trade, and got traded within a span of like 2 hours. And this is after Brady came back, and then everything that happened in the first week of free agency. And this is before Bobby Wagner signed with the Rams. I mean, it's a Stephon Diggs tweet. He just tweeted out the hell going on. and that was March of 2022. It was the hell going on month. I don't recall anything like this past
off season.
It was dynamite. It really was great.
Yeah.
Rich Eisen is here on Kaplan and Crew with Grande and the Brown Man. We're celebrating 2 years of 1090 being back on the air. Rich is heard obviously every day between 9 and noon. And Rich, I am curious though, what you do think is like the big storyline, at least on your mind, going into this NFL season. There are so many, and things happen every day. So I don't know, is it Russell Wilson in Denver? Is it Tom Brady taking time off from training camp? Is it, will Odell Beckham go back to the Rams? Will he go back to the Bills? I mean, these are just coming off the top of my head. I mean, what's interesting to you?
I think it's really, to be honest with you, Tom Brady. I mean, is this his last year? And how that plays out with the Bucs. I mean, the AFC West is another fascinating storyline based on everything that just happened with the hell going on month was surrounded with Devontae Adams and Russell Wilson and Von Miller and Randy Gregory going back to the Cowboys and then not. I mean, the AFC West is truly the home of the hell going on month. So long story short is I'll just say Brady and leave it at that.
Rich, we got about 2 minutes to go. I just would love to get you to opine on one thing. The biggest story, at least down here in San Diego, is this Fernando Tatis 80-game suspension. And I know I'm a football first guy too, but I'm curious, what do you think about what's going on here?
I don't know, man. What AJ Preller had to say, I think speaks volumes. When somebody earns all that cash and the franchise places all their eggs in that basket shouldn't be filled with steroids. It's kind of that simple. And he's got to be careful about what he puts in his body if that's what you want to, take his story at face value. And it kind of seems a little bit far-fetched, to be honest. But when AJ Preller comes out and basically says it's time for him to grow up, if you read in between the lines, I mean, that says volumes. And so it seems that the Padres have reached the point in time of letting him know what time it is. Obviously, he's got multiple years of generational wealth to accrue from here on out. But he does have a lot of jobs that are at stake based on his performance and what he's doing with his body. And he should know better, for the lack of a better phrase. He should know better.
Oh, no, I'm with you. Last thing, I know as a big Michigan fan, What do you think? USC, UCLA joining? I think there's still more to come. To your conference, the Big Ten. What'd you think?
Well, I think it's great. I love living in Big Ten country here in Southern California. I love it. I love it. And as I mentioned on the show, UCLA better sell some season tickets because that Rose Bowl, as we all know, has been. I'll give the benefit of the doubt. It's been half full. And when Michigan comes to town and Ohio State comes to town or Wisconsin or Penn State or Nebraska comes to town, Iowa comes to town, Northwestern, yes, travels when they come to town. Just name a Big Ten team. That stadium might turn the
not baby
UCLA
blue.
home field advantage. There might be let's just put
like
it this
a Charger
way.
Game.
There might be just only 4 claps. So I will counsel against it, but it is an interesting time, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Hey, Rich, congratulations on all of your success
Same to
as
you.
always. Hey, thank you so much. And we really appreciate you being on 1090. For everybody that's listening, we'll see you guys tomorrow. For everybody that's watching, separate finish for you, Rich.
I'm tax attorney Adam Brewer. If you have a serious tax problem with the IRS or state of California, then you don't need a tax relief company. You need a tax attorney. Call or visit my website to schedule your free tax evaluation.
You're watching Kaplan and Crew tonight, powered by the Mightier 1090 AM, ESPN Radio, and Your View, featuring the best sports talk in SoCal.
The Rich Eisen Show airs Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. An engaging blend of insightful football expertise with an offbeat mix of humor and pop culture while continuing to attract the most recognizable names in sports and entertainment. Only on the Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk.
I'm tax attorney Adam Brewer. If you have a serious tax problem with the IRS or state of California, then you don't need a tax relief company. You need a tax attorney. Call or visit my website to schedule your free tax evaluation.
Please welcome 4 of the 5 San Diego County Teachers of the Year from the 2021-2022 school year. From Central Elementary School, Laura Reyes. From Westfield High School, Tiffany Jokers. From San Jose Elementary School, Jacqueline Jordan. And from St. Joe Chavez Middle School, Todd Sanders. Teachers, please deliver the pitch. San Diego County Teachers of the Year with their honorary pitch.
I'm tax attorney Adam Brewer. If you have a serious tax problem with the IRS or state of California, then you don't need a tax relief company. You need a tax attorney. Call or visit my website to schedule your free tax evaluation.
Listen to the Mike Greenberg Show, 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. Greeny brings his unmatched depth of sports knowledge, fun, and entertainment back to ESPN on a daily basis. The Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk, and the Mightier1090.com.
Here's Kaplan and Crew tonight's 60-second timeout with Haley Stasiak.
It's time for some San Diego Loyals Soccer Club updates. Birmingham Legion FC snapped the Loyals' 5-match winning streak on Saturday. The Legion got a first-half goal and were able to hold off the Loyal to get the win. San Diego came close to evening it up in the second half when Tumi Moshavane tried to get a shot off in the 85th minute, but Birmingham goalkeeper Matt Vinokel was able to get the stop. The loss was San Diego's third road loss of the year. In their last 12 matches, they've earned 27 of 36 possible points. The Loyals still sit at second in the Western Conference of the USL Championship behind San Antonio FC. They'll take on the El Paso Locomotive FC on Saturday, looking to get back in the win column. That's your 60-second timeout. Now back to more Kaplan and Crew tonight.
Kaplan and Crew tonight's 60-second timeout is presented by Your View. You're watching Kaplan and Crew tonight, powered by the Mightier 1090 AM, ESPN Radio, and Your View, featuring the best sports talk in SoCal.
What's going on to all the great friends that watch the show on television here on Cox Your View? What you're about to see will never be heard on radio, won't be seen on YouTube, no audio podcast. This is just for you here on Cox Your View. Hey to all the great friends out there that watch on Cox Your View. You might be in San Diego, Orange County, LA, Santa Barbara. We're happy to have everybody here. What we love to do in this time is it's a Cox exclusive. This is stuff you're only going to see here on Cox. Not going to hear this on radio on 1090, not going to see it on our YouTube channel, not going to hear it on any of the audio podcast platforms. This is just for you guys that watch on Cox Your View. A really big show coming to the Scottish Rites Event Center in Mission Valley in San Diego. If you love trading sports memorabilia or buying or selling, this is going to be the place for you. It's coming up on August 6th and 7th. And here's the guy running the entire operation. Here's Joe Oliveri, known to his friends as Joe O from SD Collectibles, who's running this show. Hey, Joe, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Scott. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Let's talk about this. Tell us about why people need to know about your show, SD Collectibles, on August 6th and 7th.
Well, we have a great show coming up August 6th and 7th at the Scottish Rite Event Center, like you had mentioned, right there in Mission Valley. We have over 130 tables that'll be at this show. We also have Paul Lowe signing autographs on Saturday. We have Steve Garvey and Raleigh Fingers, which will be there on Sunday doing in-person autographs. We just have a really great collection of some of the biggest and best of the community, the card collecting community, coming out there August 6th and 7th, showing their cards, showing their collectibles. There'll be a lot of memorabilia out there. And really what we look at it as is something for every collector.
Yeah, when you say every collector, is it, from what I understand and looking at the website, sdcollectibles.com, it's not just purely sports cards. Is that right?
That's correct, Scott. We have sports cards, memorabilia, autographed items, quite a few unique autographed items and memorabilia. But we also have Pokemon, a large selection of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering. There'll be vendors there that have comic books. As I mentioned, there's several autograph signers that will be there. We also have JSA, which will be on site for both Saturday and Sunday, doing in-person authentication, same-day services.
Well, that's awesome, because for me, the one thing I know I'm most interested in, and I know a lot of people who are watching right now have the same thing. If you've got a piece of sports memorabilia that you are willing to part with, but you don't have authentication, like I have this Marshall Faulk football, the year that he broke the record where he was over 1,000 yards rushing and receiving for the Rams in 2000. I've also got this basketball sitting right here that is signed by every Los Angeles Laker of the 2002 World Championship team. So Shaq, Kobe, Phil Jackson. I don't really honestly know if they're authentic. I think they are. It's just I don't have the paperwork. So I can bring this stuff to your show and get it authenticated on site. Is that right?
That's correct. You can bring your autographed items, whether it's memorabilia such as those basketballs, footballs, baseballs, bats, cards, photos. You can bring them right to the show Saturday or Sunday. Stop by the JSA booth. Chris would be happy to help you there. He'll be on site with his team, and they can authenticate different items that you have that have autographs so that you can find out, one, if it's real, and two, it just gives it that much more value when it is authenticated.
What if I get it authenticated and I want to sell it? Is there a way for a private person like myself? I say private, I mean, like, I'm not in the business. Can I sell this stuff?
Yeah, you sure can. There's a couple different ways to do that. I mean, obviously, there's some online ways to do that that take a lot of time and a whole different set of really procedures. But one of the great things that you can do, we have tables available and we have options for everyone. We do have some vendor tables available, 6, 8, and 12-foot tables. You can bring your items down there to sell. You can bring your cards, your memorabilia, and so on. If you have some memorabilia items like you're showing there, Scott, you can get them authenticated right at JSA, bring them over to your table, and you can put them out there for all of the attendees to see and see if you can make a deal on selling it or possibly trading it for something that you have a little more interest in.
All right. Well, while you're talking, I know Alex is putting up on the screen for everybody the website. It's sdcollectibles.com, sdcollectibles.com. Information about where, when, who's going to be there signing autographs, how you can get authenticated, how you can buy a table and space if you want to sell your own collection. Joe, this is going to be a fun show. This is going to be really cool. Give us any final thoughts, things you need people to know before you roll.
Well, one of the great things is it's a family-friendly event. When you come to our shows, you'll see a lot of people, both the parents and the kids, showing them around because there's something for everyone. There's bargain boxes of cards that are anywhere from 50 cents to $1 up. And then if you're one of those bigger collectors that likes to find those unique cards, maybe those graded cards, those Gem Mint 10, there's going to be thousands and thousands of those on display, as well as what's called the trading card game, the TCG, with Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, and so on, comic books, as I mentioned, autographed memorabilia and such. If I could give a special thank you to some of those in our community that have helped support our event. Stacked Packs, big supporter and sponsor of our event. Poke Familia, J-Lo Collectibles, SD Sportsmen, and OC Dugout. Those folks really helped support our event, and they'll be at the show. So if you have an opportunity to come out and attend, come by and say hello to those folks that have vendor tables set up.
Joe, it sounds like it's going to be a great event on August 6th and 7th. The website is SD Collectibles, and we'll see you down there. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
The NFL lives here. If it's about the NFL, you found the right station. Join 1090 every Sunday during the NFL season for the exclusive SoCal home of not one, but 2 NFL games every Sunday during the season on the Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio.
I'm tax attorney Adam Brewer. If you have a serious tax problem with the IRS or state of California, then you don't need a tax relief company, you need a tax attorney. Call or visit my website to schedule your free tax evaluation.
Home of Guiding Hands helps San Diego community in that we're a resource for families. A lot of times when families first identify that their child, their loved one, might have an intellectual or developmental disabilities, they don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. And we're here to help guide people through that process, to show them what a thriving life their loved one can have. It's a passion I share, having a daughter with a disability.
I really love the place that I live at. Because of Home of Guiding Hands, I was able to move out of my parents' house and into a beautiful home that I love living in. And so if you have an independent living service coordinator, they will help you learn more about being independent, and they help guide you through different things. They've helped me with lots of encouragement and love. They've also given me an ILS worker who is an amazing person, and I love her so much. She's great. I could tell you the first, week or so, I wasn't feeling very confident in myself. The first couple of nights I was like, oh, this is scary. But I look back on it now and I'm like, this is so easy.
Main Street Living celebrates diverse abilities in partnership with Home of Guiding Hands, supporting the special needs community for over 55 years.
Thank you for joining us. Catch Scott Kaplan and crew tonight from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific every Monday through Friday. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and crew show on the Mightier 1090 AM, ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk.
Imagine life without compromise. You want mountains?
Check.